Very good afternoon. We thank you ever so much for watching NTV. My name is Malcolm Sime. Now is the time for NTV at 1, but we have headlines first. Foreign Affairs Ministry summons EU ambassador to Uganda over remarks made after the State of the Nation address. Also coming up this afternoon, police in Kampala has banned all the political rallies over claims of incitement. And across the border, Zimbabwe's Prime Minister Morgan Tsvangirai is angry with President Robert Mugabe's decision on the July election date. You're watching NTV at 1. Once again, you woke up. This is NTV at 1, and we start with the European Union saying it will continue to have warm relations with Uganda despite statements made by the ambassador Roberto Ridolfi on President Museveni's State of the Nation address last week. And this morning, Ridolfi appeared at the Foreign Affairs Ministry after he was summoned there. The Foreign Affairs State Minister Okello Oryem says the ambassador was reminded of the diplomatic channels through which views of the diplomatic corps on local issues are expressed. Ridolfi was on Wednesday quoted in the press as saying that the president's address was not wide-ranging and left out key issues such as corruption, the Sejusa saga, and the clampdown on the media.
Then shall you be ready in afterwards? Just one cameraman for that.
Thank you very much.
This is normal in our relations. Sometimes I have something to inform the minister of, sometimes he has something that he wants to call me, and the relationship are as good and as excellent as ever. Thank you very much.
Why I invited the EU ambassador here was to express to him the government position on the way in which, and to remind him and all other ambassadors in the way in which the government of Uganda conducts business with ambassadors in this country. The ambassadors in this country and high commissioners countries have their terms and conditions of work in Uganda. There was statements allegedly made by him and attributed to him by the Monitor newspaper saying that he did attack the president Museveni over graft. And that's why I invited him to remind him of that, his responsibility and his duty, and also to refreshen the minds of other ambassadors in this country who might have forgotten.
No, he's not taking back his words. He is only explaining to the Minister of Foreign Affairs that, look, we normally as good friends have frank discussions. You may have a problem with the forum in which these words were expressed or in the medium in which they were carried. But certainly, that certainly was not within our ability to control.
Now, a day after the 2013-2014 financial year budget, estimates for the coming financial year were announced, and the cross-section of professional bodies say it will only work if there is enhanced efficiency in implementation. Experts maintain that a wider target of planned expenditure, if not executed and timely, reduces the rate of compliance to the from the taxpayers.
Post-budget assessments from professional entities in the country appears to be hinged on the fact that broadening the tax base cannot be effected without actual efficiency in planned programs and activities by government.
So I believe it's a good step in the right direction for 80% to be financed by our own resources. We just need to look at how do we utilize the little resource or the little money that we are collecting.
Finance Minister Maria Chiwanuka unveiled her proposed expenditures for the coming financial year worth 13.1 trillion shillings, which she said will be matched with a 7% economic growth over the new budget year.
We will also enhance transparency and accountability to improve value for money and fight corruption vigorously in public service delivery. Madam Speaker, government will continue to build Uganda's infrastructure development to serve as the springboard of economic growth and development.
However, speaking on the silence of a budget breakfast meeting arranged by the Institute of Professional Accountants of Uganda, here in Kampala, reactions remain diverse.
Because as an investor in education, wheat has been increased. That certainly is going to shoot up bread, and bread is such a component that we need to feed our children. And some other needs like water, it really might affect how we are going to operate.
Because what is hurting is that there is only a small percentage of people paying taxes. So if we all, my cleaner at the office who earns more than 235 has to pay taxes. And yet there are billionaires downtown who are not touched because the tax system is not getting them. So as long as everybody, if we are all on fair ground, if we are all paying taxes, then everybody will be happy.
There's been a lot of frustration by the farmers on where one can spend his money to buy seed from a shop somewhere, and he waits for a year, a seed does not come out.
Currently, there are no regulations regarding agency banking, but if we have an environment that is properly regulated and we have the regulations that will enable us, that will govern how banks work with agents, other institutions to extend services, it will make it easy, it will make it standard, it will make it regular.
The finance minister also promised that inflation within the year will be kept at 6% to enable business compliance to both taxation and licensing requirements, factors she noted will boost tax compliance. Raina Urgent, NTV at 1.
Now, more on the budget. This time around, the finance minister made the first attempt in a long time to address the issue of widening the tax base. And through measures like widening the net for withholding tax, Uganda could finally grow tax ration from 13% to at least 15% to catch up with the rest of the sub-Saharan Africa.
What we have on this list are really aimed at bringing in people who should be contributing their fair share, but they are not. So the first measure was widening the scope of withholding tax agents to bring in more taxpayers. Now, a lot of you corporates, formal sector, business, and government institutions do business with other people who are not very visible as far as the Revenue Authority is concerned. And the objective here is if you run a hotel and you've got a small, medium-sized enterprise who supplies you with potatoes, tomatoes, it's possible that those guys may not be filing tax returns. But the objective here is that if you're paying that lady, gentleman, 2 million shillings for 20 sacks of potatoes, you are going to be required to withhold 6%. What I liked most is the greater collaboration between the URA, KCCA, and other local authorities. And I think the challenge in our government is the disjoint and lack of coordination in various institutions. KCCA has been very effective in doing what they do. And I think collaborating with them to collect taxes or even just to identify taxpayers, to me, is a very good measure.
Okay, now the Kampala Metropolitan Police has dismissed all political gatherings organized by members of the opposition belonging to pressure groups 4GC and A4C. According to the police, members of these groups have shown gross misconduct in the rallies, and they're citing the recent events in Kasubi, Munaku, and Mulago.
These rallies have become a concert of political leaders who are activists, on the other hand, to incite violence, to abuse, to character assassinate, to name call, and build a sense of hatred in the public based on sectarian tendencies and highly dividing. As an institution charged with ensuring law and order, protecting lives and properties of all Ugandans, discharging a constitutional mandate of detecting and preventing crime, we cannot allow this one to continue. I repeat, we are not going to allow this one to continue, and we are suspending these rallies indefinitely. No rally is going to happen anymore, be it organized by Lukwago, be it organized by any MP, so long as it has got a composition of the same people.
Now let's have a look at how the money markets are doing today. At 1, and we have more stories for you coming up immediately after this break.
No one feels the motherland like we do. So tune in every day at 6 p.m. for the best in homegrown music. Only on NTV, the station that celebrates local music talent.
戦いであります。さあ、ワイコーの応援団、カヌーポロブのその仲間たちがしきりにこの浅野公平のカウントを。
Welcome back. This is NTV at 1. Now, you've heard of children being adopted and taken to other countries from their countries of origin or birth. Now, the parliamentary protecting them against, I beg your pardon, in a bid to continue promoting children's rights and protecting them against any form of abuse. The Uganda Parliamentary Forum for Children is advocating for the abolition of this practice or inter-country adoption. And they suggest that if any adoption is to take place, it has to be done within the country and with support from the government.
It is not right, because as a parent, once you give out your children, you also lose ownership. You are not allowed to see that child, and even when that child grows up, the way they bring them up, and this is really very bad. It is an abuse of the child's rights. Why make a child lose the parenthood and then pick on a false parenthood and make that child believe that those are her or his real parents?
I think their right inter-country adoption is governed by laws from which the child is coming from. Let's have a look at what's happening across the border. Zimbabwe's Prime Minister Morgan Tsvangirai is angry with President Robert Mugabe's July poll date, and also in the US, the State House is to supply direct military support to the Syrian opposition for the first time, and the White House has announced as well. Morgan Tsvangirai, the Prime Minister of Zimbabwe, has rejected the plan by President Robert Mugabe to hold an election on July 31st. The Prime Minister accused the country's leader of violating the constitution. Tsvangirai said Mugabe was creating a political crisis in the southern African country and that an election could be held no earlier than August 25th. The Prime Minister said Mugabe had violated a power-sharing agreement set up after bloody and disputed polls 5 years ago, under which he has been a partner in a factious unity government. Earlier, President Mugabe unilaterally declared the elections would be held on July 31st by passing parliament in a bid to comply with the constitutional court order that gave the July date. Mugabe, 89, has been Zimbabwe's leader for 33 years, serving first as Prime Minister and later as President. And elsewhere, the United States is boosting military support to the main Syrian rebel group after determining that the government used chemical weapons against the opposition. According to Ben Rhodes, the Deputy National Security Advisor, the U.S. President made the decision to provide direct support to the Supreme Military Council that includes military support. The U.S., working with European allies, concluded that the Syrian regime has used chemical weapons against the rebels, killing up to 150 people. The White House said that the casualty data was likely incomplete and that it had no reliable, collaborated information to suggest that the Syrian opposition in the country's civil war had acquired chemical weapons. On to sport now. Luke Donald edged ahead of Phil Mickelson with his first shot to lead by 1 after a rain hit first day of the 113th US Open at Marion. And in athletics, six-time Olympic gold medal Usain Bolt bounced back from a shock 100 meters defeat in Rome to ease to victory in the 200 meters at the Oslo Diamond League.
Donald reached 4 under after 13 before play was called off, with Mickelson in the clubhouse after a 67. Adam Scott also got to 3 under, with holder Webb Simpson, Matthew Gogan and Alistair Presnell 2 under. Tiger Woods, who appeared to injure his left wrist, was 2 over at 10 with playing partner Rory McIlroy level par. Play was suspended for 3.5 hours yesterday morning because of severe storms, and then again for a short time later in the day, leaving almost half of the field to finish their rounds at 7:15 hours on Friday. Meanwhile, Bolt's first outing over his favoured event was disrupted when Chirundi Martina false started. On the restart, Bolt got out of the blocks well before pulling away in the final 50 meters to win in 19.79 seconds, the world's fastest time this year.
Well, away without any troubles. He reacted wonderfully last week to Bolt. He's gone well here. He's already well up on De Oliveira. He's going well too. Is Side Induri inside him. Side Induri's run a really good bend in the light blue. But Bolt now gets into his running. That massive stride draws him clear. Further and further clear. Certainly good running from Side Induri in lane 5. But Bolt takes this one by 6-7 metres. 19.80. And it is indeed a meeting record. The wind was kind too. Plus 1.7. Similar to what we had in the women's 100 hurdles half an hour ago. And Usain Bolt has delivered and is back in his winning way.
Usain Bolt, Rocket Bolt, a self-confessed Man United fan. And speaking of Man United, David Moyes is prepared to spend £85 million to buy Tottenham Hotspur's Gareth Bale. He's a midfielder. That's in gossip today as far as transfers are concerned. We're now going to... That brings NTV at 1 to close. Thank you very much for watching and have a nice day.